Hi guys, so I just want to go over some news that have been happening from late February to early March. So based on last couple to few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, it's a lot of things. One thing's gonna be about basically mainly about the reversals of a lot of the firings that Trump tried to do that now is being reversed because a court order made sure to reverse the decisions of firing those employees, or Trump administration decided to backtrack what they did because they messed up on a decision. I'll be talking about that very soon. So first thing I want to talk about though is how this article from March 2nd, 2025 from ABC News discusses that Trump's second term updates, specifically that Trump excludes low value shipments from looming tariffs. We already know that tariffs are going to be happening from Canada, Mexico, and other countries. If I'm not mistaken, I think they are initiating, at least in Mexico and Canada, yesterday, Tuesday, March 4th. So I'll discuss more about it in a separate video. But this is interesting because at least it exempts or excludes certain tariffs on low value shipments that less than $800 from Canada and Mexico, which is right here on top. The amendment exempts imports value at less than $800 from Canada and Mexico. So that's a good thing. And I disagree with that. But one thing I really would disagree is the whole tariffs in the first place. Tariffs are not good. Tariffs are not something that will make more money for the US. In the end, what will happen is that as you put tariffs on these countries, they're gonna have to increase the cost of those products when they're selling to your country. So in this case, Mexico and Canada will have to increase the cost of how much it will cost it to buy the produce or material to build a house, etc. So they will increase the cost to make up the difference and why they have to pay more in tariffs. So the American people are gonna have to pay more so this company can make a profit, not less. So this will only benefit the rich and the wealthy in the US. It will actually cause a negative impact on anyone who is working class, middle class, especially if you're poor. This will not be good for you. This is why when people think, "Oh, let's get rid of property taxes," that would specifically impact the poorest of the poor, because then they will heighten the cost of sale tax, and and that's where most poor people really pay a lot in taxes. So you increase sale tax, but get rid of property taxes, you benefit most of the rich. So it backfires that way. If you're someone who's overall not making much, a low income household. So keep those things in mind that something things you want to keep as taxes because they're fairer than something like a sale tax. Property taxes are fairer than sale tax. So don't forget that. That's basically the main gist of the main idea of the article. That's the idea of it. I'll scroll down a little bit so you guys can pause the view and look into things into more details. And of course, like I always do, all the articles I'll be discussing today will be in the description box, so you guys can click and read it in more details if you like. And that's really it. I think the next things are just mainly different articles at this point. Um, this was just a quick highlight of what happened. Yeah, everything else, they talk about more, what this is and how this will impact. Um, but now this is just a completely different article. So, so this is like the main thing, and then this, and that's really it. There's not much more info about this. It's not something that will help a lot of people anyway, because a lot of shipments are gonna cost way more, or imports are gonna cost way more than $800. So you're still gonna pay more as an American living in the US. Next article is about how a judge says that Trump's mass firing of federal employees is illegal and should be stopped, which some judges have reversed some of them because people appealed or filed lawsuit and won. This article is from March 1st, 2025 from NPR. And yeah, it's true. It's illegal what Trump is doing. You can't just fire people, especially who are permanent, without due cause, right? Trump is doing everything via executive order instead of going through Congress. Because in general, you have to make a lot of congressional decisions on these things. And that's a proper pathway of how to fire people or lay them off. Trump is trying to avoid Congress in case anyone disagrees with him and backfires at him. So he's trying to do everything via executive order and hoping that the US Supreme Court will just agree with everything he's doing. Because eventually that might lead to a US Supreme Court decision. That's basically what Trump wants. Because the US Supreme Court probably will not stop him. So a federal judge in San Francisco So this was in California. Says that Trump administration firing of thousands of probationary employees is illegal and should be stopped. Which I agree, it is illegal. As a probationary employee, I made a whole video about this. You have rights to appeal. So not as many as a permanent employee, but you still do. I made a whole video just about probationary employees at the federal government. So you guys can watch that if you like. It was a U.S. District Judge William says that U.S. Office of Personnel Management (OPM) must rescind directives sent to some agencies ordering them to fire their probationary employees, typically those in the first or second year in the job. Well, one of the employees that really matter a lot in this type of environments are employees who work in DoD, Department of Defense, or NASA. Those agencies really need a lot of probationary employees. NASA in general has a lot of probationary employees. Um, and it's important not to just fire people. You can screw up entire projects that have been worked on for a while. So in court on Thursday, the Judge Williams also included the National Science Foundation in that list. But in a written opinion issued late Friday, he said that inclusion was in error. He added the Fish and Wildlife Service in his praise. Yeah, we also need people in there. It's a lot of these organizations that all these federal organizations that need these employees. We can't just fire them without causing a huge negative impact on the livelihood of not just those people who are fired, but also the people who need the services of these federal employees. So you gotta keep that in mind. Government says it asked not all entities to fire employees. Nice debate, but yeah, they were definitely ordered to fire employees. Nice, I highly doubt they were just being asked nicely by Trump to just please fire them. I'm sure Trump said, "You must fire them or you lose funding." That type of thing. Or you're gonna lose your job as well. So it's a lot of these issues. I'll keep scrolling a bit. So unions and civic groups have also joined in the appeals to help a lot of professional employees and permanent employees not to lose their job. Depending on your institution, you could be a probationary employee with union rights and be part of a union. So that's important too. Yeah, but just asking the government to do the right thing is not gonna happen. Not with the Trump administration. But that's the overall idea of that article. Now, this one is one that sucks. Is that you remote or work from home U.S. federal employees have to go back to Washington. Basically, have to go back to Washington D.C. Why this a problem? I fully agree with being fully remote or at least a hybrid schedule. If you cannot be fully remote, but a lot of these employees are forcing to come back. They don't have to be in the office. They can be fully remote. They don't really see people in person if it's anybody. So they don't have like customers or the public they see face to face that frequently, if at all. So they don't have to be back in the office. This is, of course, as a way to force the spirit to quit because it's a lot easier to make the workplace environment hostile to your employees and that will cause them to want to quit than you firing them and going through an annoying appeal process that could take weeks to months. In the end, the judge could reverse the decision. Now you have to wait to maybe go to the U.S. Supreme Court, if it does at all, to reverse that federal judge decision. It's a pain. And that's something that Trump administration does not want to do. But again, I don't agree with this. It's of course to push the spirit to just quit. I always recommend not to quit. Make them try to fire you so you can go through a appeal process, lawsuits, use a union to help you if you have one, etc. But there is information more about it. There's something we talked about before. There was a memo that told OPM employees that if they decline to move to DC, the options for continuing employee with the sentence may be limited. Well, that's the thing. I don't. That's really complete BS. We know that a lot of these employees can't do the work fully from home. They don't have to be at the office. I'm just gonna scroll down a little bit. That's basically the main idea of this. The new FBI director, Kash Patel, has already ordered about 1,500 employees out of the Washington area to field offices around the country, roughly 500 to Alabama. So yeah, this is gonna happen. You can't just push people to go to DC. You also need to be in other states. So it doesn't make sense. It's not really helpful. About 100K workers out of the 2.3 million strong federal and civilian workforce have already been fired or taking buyouts. Don't take buyouts, people. I know I mentioned this in the previous video. The buyouts are risky, and that pretty much guarantees you can easily come back if you're out to the federal government when this is a Trump buyout. He may not even give you the full amount of the buyout. Some people might miss it out. So keep that in mind. Next one, just how this is an interesting article from February 24, 2025, from the Democracy Forward. Office of Special Counsel recommends halting termination of probationary federal workers as reason to believe Trump's administration's mass firing are unlawful. Which again, this go back to a lot of the judge decisions are reversing a lot of the decisions. There's just an article backing up and basically going to that climax that ended up happening a lot in late February to early March of this year. So again, the Office of Special Counsel has recommended halting the termination of probation employees who filed a complaint alleging that the termination was unlawful, which in a lot of cases is extremely unlawful. It could be discriminatory based on race, ethnicity, maybe also based on politics. We know that Trump's doing this a lot because of politics. He wants people to be loyal to him, loyal Republicans, not people who have First Amendment rights and disagree with some of his actions. So I'm just gonna scroll this down a bit. You guys can pause to read it more. I'm not gonna read everything in full detail. So many things to go over today, so I can't really be doing that. But this was just a quick, interesting article. Another even more interesting is this is straight from the Senate.gov of Senator John's website. After pressure from Senator Ossoff, Ossoff, I think that's how I pronounce his name. So Senator John, Trump administration restores funding for HBCU students studying agriculture. That's a good thing. It's a very quick information. It's a good thing. That's why I find pushing back and not just bending over to Trump's order. It helps. That's what you have to do. Even more so now than ever. Next article, just in the last minute decision, White House decides not to terminate NASA employees. Another interesting article from Technica, February 18, 2025. So this is something I discussed earlier about Trump reversing some of his decisions of firing people. Of course, firing terminating a bunch of NASA employees is not the greatest decision. I wouldn't do that because a lot of those people are doing very crucial and projects that if you get rid of those people, those projects end, and that's not good. And that's not going to help the country. So there's some more detail about it, how it happened. So what changed? It's clear that it was not very clear why, but I'm sure they probably spoke with Trump and some of the decisions they're making, some of the work that they're trying to do, and uh, they probably told him, "Hey, getting rid of these people will mess up, exploring space and projects they have for the Moon Titan, Europa, the planet Mars, which is something that Musk wants to keep going, right? He wants us to be able to live, or at least build a base on Mars and a Moon. So getting rid of a bunch of probationary employees is not a good thing. So I just thought that was interesting. Now this one's from the Guardian. Uh, Trump administration backtracks on firing nuclear arsenal workers. Why he did this is pretty obvious. Why? This article is from February 15, 2025. If you're gonna get rid of all these people, you're just gonna accidentally, which is probably not an accident, they just were not reviewing things. You're gonna find a bunch of people who look over nuclear arsenals where they basically don't who oversee and maintain. You can sell, anything related to nuclear fusion, things like that. It's gonna be a problem. That's very important, especially if they're doing a lot of them doing important research and maintenance. So getting rid of these people is a huge problem. So of course he backtracks on that. You can't just fire people without double checking if one, they're good at the job and they're not doing anything wrong, and two, if they're really crucial, if they have positions that really matters for the stability of the country. Trump keeps doing a lot of this decision because Musk said just fire them without thinking twice. You have to do research. He has people in his administration that could tell him otherwise, but sometimes Trump would just listen to one person, probably just Musk, and no one else. And then he makes a decision he has to reverse because, hey, this will mess us up in many ways. So officials with the National Nuclear Security Administration, and then SA, attempted to notify some probation employees who had been let go that they're due to be reinstated. But they tried to find them because their contact information was missing. Well, yeah, have fun now bringing back all these people. The agency runs off a $25 billion annual budget and is now overseeing a weapon modernization program. Yeah, obviously. Currently includes more than 65K federal and contract employees nationwide. The U.S. is projected to spend approximately 756 billion dollars in nuclear forces between 2023 and 2032. So this according to a Congressional Budget Office report. Yeah, doing this was definitely a bad decision. And that's really it for that article. And that's just something I want to go quick. This is executive word from Trump back in February 18, 2025, ensuring accountability for all agencies. In a nutshell, I will scroll down so you guys can pause every now and again. In a nutshell, this just means that Trump wants to have full control of all federal agencies. So all federal government agencies and departments, he wants to have a full control of it. So instead of allowing someone who were initially independent, he's not allowing them to be independent anymore. There are more details about this. So you guys, as I'm scrolling, you guys can pause the video. I'll be scrolling. Everything's gonna be in my description, like I stated earlier, as per usual. But this just in a nutshell is just him to have full control of how these federal government agencies and departments operate and what he wants them to do and what he wants them to research, and what folks he wants to have, how many employees they have. He wants to have full control of it, the budget, everything. Which of course is not helpful because Trump doesn't know anything about how at least the majority of federal agency departments work. He's not really a politician with knowledge like that. Anyway, that's really it for today. Let me know in the description what you guys think about all these things that I said today. I'll reply, not in the description, I'm sorry. Let me know what you think in the comment section about these things that I discussed today. What they agree with the reversal of some Trump administration's firing of employees. If you think that remote workers in the federal government should stay remotely or they should go back to the office full time. I will reply to as many comments as possible. Same thing TikTok. Comment there, and I will also reply to you. So if you like this video, like and subscribe the video and subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching this TikTok, just follow us on TikTok. And again, I'll reply to as many comments as I can. Have a good day, everyone.